This is a topic that has been sitting in the back of my mind, and I've been meaning to talk about it, or at least mock it in some form, for quite some time now. One thing in particular that set me off was this video from ObviousHD that was, to say the least, completely absurd. This video alone has an abundance of problems I could fill the entire video with, but let's take a step back. What is the root of this problem? Why has Roblox YouTube become so bad? Keep in mind that this is obviously my opinion and not intended as a personal attack, but I'm pretty sure that goes without saying. It's basically impossible to pinpoint an exact date where things started to go downhill, though I would personally point to 2014 as sort of a humble starting point. Let's get to the root of this problem. These videos are, well, extremely uninspired, to put it lightly. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to partially blame myself for this problem, because way back in the middle of 2014, I made a couple of these videos, 10 types of Robloxians and 5 types of personal servers. These videos absolutely blew up, amassing hundreds of thousands of views, and to this day, 10 types of Robloxians remains as my most viewed video ever. That is sad. I would assume that after seeing how much those videos blew up, people like ObviousHD decided to cash in on it. And of course, those got hundreds of thousands of views as well. People such as Kavra, Fuds, and even Crypteye started cashing in on this low-effort format as well. In fact, one of them was literally the exact same thing I made all those years ago, 10 types of Robloxians. While I obviously wasn't the first person to come up with the idea of a blank types of blanks video, those videos were still pretty clearly some of the earliest examples. There really isn't much else to say about them, so let's jump into the other problematic trend that has semi-recently come up. If you thought blank types of blank videos were boring and uninspired, wait until you see bully stories. These could not be any more shameless about how bland they are. I'll give you a basic rundown, because it can be applied to every bully story in existence. It goes like this: you have a protagonist that's typically portrayed as either a guest or a newly signed up 3.0 bacon hair account. They go to a free model school and get bullied by stereotypical online dater characters that act like edgy middle schoolers. They either insult or physically assault the protagonist, which causes them to make the same stupid crying face that's used in every single bully story ever. After that, some conveniently placed hero will stand up for them, or the protagonist will decide to stand up for themselves, and the bullies somehow get defeated, typically running away or even getting beat up themselves. End video. Since they're intended to be music videos, though, we can't forget that they use the exact same songs every single time, whether it's Alone by Marshmello, No Money by Galantis, or any Alan Walker song in existence. It's the same thing every time. This is another thing that's kind of hard to point to an exact beginning to, but it's pretty safe to say that Kavra was the main person who started this trend. Being the greedy madman that he is, ObviousHD once again saw someone becoming successful with a particular format and decided to cash in on it. This gave him a huge boost in popularity with unsurprisingly minimal effort. As a further testament to this, a fairly long-time member of the community, Crypteye, decided to make a bully story as sort of an experiment just to test the waters. Keep in mind that he only had roughly 7,000 subscribers at the time of making that video, as he was somewhat inactive for a while. Despite that, his first bully story immediately blew up, getting up to 17 million views at the time of this video. Seeing how successful it was, he obviously continued making these types of videos. Roblox bully story alone, Roblox bully story alone, 5 types of rich people on Roblox, 5 types of hackers on Roblox, Roblox bully story sing me to sleep. No disrespect to Crypteye here though, as he is more than capable of making content with legitimately good production value and quality. I can't blame him for continuing with this format, but it's a good example of how pitifully easy it is to get famous from this easy to make content. Crypteye is now sitting at nearly 273,000 subscribers. If that isn't enough to prove my point, then how about this? Instar, a good friend of mine, made a separate channel for Roblox content a while back. He made a fake bully story as a joke that had a completely absurd ending where Maddie B shoots the protagonist. It was simply made as a bait and switch gag. Despite that, though, the video almost instantly got up to 100,000 views, while the rest of the content on the channel can barely pass 100 views. Now that we've put everything into context, let's go back to what inspired me to make this video in the first place. This monstrosity. The Last Guest, a sad Roblox movie. This thing takes most of the bad traits from bully stories that I previously mentioned and turns it into some weird attempt at a sad war movie? I don't even know, man. It starts off with your typical war scene, and then cuts to to your typical bully story environment. Here you can see the last guest himself with his parents, where he immediately gets insulted by the stereotypical bully story format characters I talked about before. His parents give him encouragement to make him feel better, blah blah blah, you know the drill. After that, we cut to a scene at a playground where the guest is playing and enjoying himself. Keep in mind that the parents have literally had less than a minute of screen time thus far, so... and they're dead. Some bacon-haired gangster shot them, even though this takes place in the least ghetto-looking place in existence. In all seriousness, the writing here is just terrible. This death was only placed here for a cheap shock value to try to make the audience sad, when in reality it has no impact whatsoever because these characters weren't developed at all. Why should I care about them? What is their personality? It's just so rushed and lazy. After this, the guest meets some typical anti-bully characters to stick up for them. One of them, of course, being a self-insert of Oblivious himself because he's just gotta stroke his ego. Some more shenanigans happen involving bullies, and hold on, a couple of those people don't belong here. Did he seriously put Smokey and Cassidus in the video as bullies? Is he still mad about that drama from several months ago? Oh, and here comes his self-insert to talk about how bad they are.
Go pick on somebody your own size, yeah? Go pick on somebody your own size, yeah? Go pick on somebody your own size, yeah?
Yeah, Oblivious, why don't you take your own advice and stop picking on people who have about 423,000 less subscribers than you? Just a little suggestion. Also, I haven't pointed this out up until now, but there's a couple things that bothered me throughout the video. For starters, the quote-unquote animation. It's honestly a joke. All of the animation is either default R15 animations or pre-made mocapped animations they just took from somewhere else. It also doesn't help that the voice acting is average at best. I'll give them points for having voice acting at all though, because people like Kavra still resort to just putting text on the screen, which shouldn't even be considered acceptable at this point. It doesn't help that the music is constantly drowning out the voices though. Hey, can you speak up a bit, please? I can't really hear you. Please speak up. I would very much appreciate it if you spoke up real quick. Oh, this part's my favorite. It's so relatable. I also enjoy using an Xbox 360 controller to play Mario Kart for the Wii with 4 players on the screen despite only having 3 people in the room and having a non-existent Wii that's just magically casting itself to the television. Happens all the time. After that, a police officer guy tells guests that he would be very useful in the army for literally no reason at all, and 10 years later, gets married, goes to army, yada yada. That's pretty much all I wanted to say about this video, because the rest is just more weird mocapped animations and a lot of other minor things, like a distinct lack of sound effects in a lot of areas. It just feels unfinished. I'm gonna end this here before it gets too ridiculous. I think I've made my point clear enough. The point is, Roblox YouTube sucks right now, and there's not really much we can do about it. I just kind of felt like ranting about it. This isn't really intended to be some big exposing video or whatever, just my thoughts. Bye-bye, I guess. Well, I thought that was everything, but apparently not. Just last night, Oblivious falsely copyright striked a parody video by Cassidus for no good reason at all. It wasn't monetized or anything, and it perfectly fell under fair use. So why did he do it? You can see very clearly here, he was the one who manually claimed it. If he does the same to this video, I encourage you to download it and spread it however you want, but only if he takes it down.